Hey, how's it going? My name is Rod Nunez. I'm one of the pastors on staff at Christ Church Vienna in Vienna, Virginia. And I'm glad you guys are able to join us today. Today we're going to be spending some time talking about our postgraduate residency year. Something we've started up here in the last 6 or 7 years. By design, we've designed it to be something that an undergraduate that is coming out of school and entering into the workforce can do so in community, integrated in the life of our church, with the ability to work in major all week, full time, with mentors, some discipleship opportunities, as well as the ability to disciple students in middle school and high school. So again, thank you for joining us. Today I've got 3 really special guests, really good friends from over the years that have participated in the program, and we thought it would be best for you to hear from them how the residency went for them. Before we go on, I'm going to have them introduce themselves, both with their name, when they graduated, what school they went to, a little bit about who they are, and then we'll jump into talking about the residency. Tell you what, if we could start over here, would you mind starting us off, Sabrina?
Absolutely. My name is Sabrina Corey. I graduated from JMU in 2019 and then spent the following year here as a resident.
Yeah, so I'm Joe Fisher. I also graduated from JMU. We all did. And supposed to do 2019, did a victory lap, so I graduated 2020. And then I'm actually doing a 3-year residency here at CCB.
My name is Claire O'Brien, and I went to JMU as well with these lovely folks, and I graduated in 2020, and I started my residency program here this September.
Awesome. Thank you, Sabrina, Joe, and Claire. In a nutshell, our residency program, the reason why we kind of put it together was to help our graduates enter into kind of work life, helping them, with the areas of faith, integrating your faith into your work, into your life as a new professional in the marketplace, looking at life in general, like the community you're embedded in, your place in that community, looking at your gifts, how you can serve in the midst of that community. So we're excited to be able to share this with you today. Quick, can you guys share with us what your degree was in when you graduated, so people can kind of have a feel for who you are and where you came from?
Yeah, I graduated. I got my undergrad in communication studies with a concentration in interpersonal communication and a minor in Spanish. But now I'm going to become a clinical mental health counselor.
Awesome.
Yes. Yeah, so I bounced around a little bit, but I ended up doing education. So I was a middle ed minor, and now I'm working with students and currently in seminary. So, yeah.
Excellent.
I studied business marketing, and now I am doing some marketing, communications, event planning, kind of a mixture of all 3 things.
Putting all of that good knowledge to work, right?
Yes, hopefully.
Excellent. Thank you, Claire. I might start, Claire, with you. I wonder if you could share with folks kind of what initially drew you into this postgraduate residency program.
Yeah. So the neat thing about this program is, for someone like me, so I studied marketing, business marketing at JMU, which is a fairly broad major, so you could go into many different things. But for me, it was really important post-graduation to have community and to have church. We all came from a strong Christian community in school, and I think that was something that I knew I wanted, but I think it's really hard to find after college. And so what was really neat about this program in particular was that it offered 3 things that were invaluable to me. So faith, finding church, work. I wanted to work a full-time job in something that I was interested in, but I didn't want to give up ministry. And then also life of being mentored and being involved in a local church, and being able to be a part of students' lives that are in high school and in middle school, were all aspects that I wanted to grow in and have. And this program offered all 3 at the same time, which was to me really invaluable.
Sabrina, I might throw something your way as a kind of a graduate of the residency program. After having finished your kind of rotation with our church, what are a few maybe takeaways that you think you have now with the ability to reflect back on those years that maybe are very different from what you expected would happen? If that makes
That's a good
sense.
question. Yeah. I think what was so unique and wonderful for me about being here is people always say that the first few years right out of college is so uncertain and so challenging in such just a unique, specific way. And so I expected kind of the turbulence of that. But was really surprised and grateful that being here for a year where I had work that was intentionally kind of chosen for me and what I wanted to do, as well as a faith community, having a host family and all these different pieces really allowed me to kind of secure myself and have the support to discern and to figure out where I wanted to go. And I kind of saw it as this temporary, isolated event. And in some ways it was. But what I'm thankful for now, being finished with it, to still have that. To even as I move on to a new local church where I am, to still have the support of this community, to still have just all the growth from that and the knowledge of how to integrate all of those things to work in the field that I've been called to, as well as be involved in ministry, and to have that sort of community. It's been wonderful to then bring that into life as I've moved forward.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sebs. I like it that you mentioned, too, the word discernment, right? One of the things, and you guys know this or are finding this out, is that the ability to provide kind of a safe place in this community of faith for you to actually have the bandwidth, the time, right? To not worry about other things, but to be able to start testing and discerning, Lord, what is it professionally you want me to do? And how is it you want me to go about this, right? How does having relationships differ now in my first year of being a professional out of the college campus incubator? And how is that different from when I was like surrounded by people nonstop when I was involved in ministry at school, right? All these things are things that you're kind of discerning. So how did this program help you see the local church in a different way? Or how is it allowing you to see the local church in a different way?
Yeah, it's a great question. I recognize my situation's a little unique because I'm working with the church and I'm doing seminary, which isn't everyone's path. But I think throughout college and just even now, kind of the question is like, why even go to church? Like, why be invested in a local church? And that's a valid question. You know, why can't I just have my individual faith? Why can't I have maybe other ministries? But I think that tends to be some people's path, but you miss so much richness in the faith. And you miss so much focus on being together. Even the Lord's Prayer is our Father, not my Father. It's not necessarily bad to have your individual faith with the Lord. Like, that's needed, your prayer, but there's also needed to have community. And, like, one of the ways I've learned to see my walk is that if you want to grow, like, you got to go and serve, too. And you can't just do that by yourself. And you need people around you that hold you accountable, to see you mentored, to, like, being part of other people's lives. And I think the value of serving is sometimes something you just have to go and do. Like, love in the Bible, it is an emotion, but it's also an action. And so you can grow to love these things, but you got to go and do it first, because you're not going to just automatically love sometimes serving. Some people do. That's great.
Sabrina, I have a question about the mentoring aspect of kind of the residency program. For you, what did it look like your mentoring relationships? And I would even say, potentially, first maybe with your mentor that we connect you with, but also maybe even some of the ancillary ways in which your host family, you're able to be mentored in a way by them as well.
Yeah, I would say that's one of the most helpful parts for me, especially because I was very intentionally going into a season of discernment for a year, considering grad school or what job I wanted to go into. And so for me, the mentors really helped me, not only during that time, because it is so uncertain being straight out of school and things are just really different from, like you said, you don't have the same community around you, to be able to grow spiritually and be supported, but specifically guided in that process. I was thankful to have a few mentors who were in those fields of work that I was interested in. So they were very wise and understood exactly what that looked like and could help me figure out if it's what I wanted to do, and simultaneously just support me emotionally, spiritually, walk with me step by step through that. And same with my host family, to be able to kind of ground me during that, walk with me as I'm just figuring out who am I, what is my life going to look like, what do I want to do next, what am I doing now, and how do I honor and serve God in that. So I found that to be incredible.
And all like supernatural, like normal questions, right? Like everybody that enters into the workforce has these.
Yeah.
So
I would do that because having someone that's done life and walked in front of you, because like the best they can do is just walk in front of you and show, oh, like don't walk that way. It might lead this way. And I have a lot of us are young. We're still in our mid-20s, and there's just a lot we just don't know. There's a lot of experience that like if you don't ask, you might miss out on a lot of wisdom. And so wisdom has to, like the church has to be diverse in age where there can be a hierarchy of sharing wisdom and life with each other. And I think that's a value that this really adds to, for me, is having that. It kind of anchors me too, knowing that someone else has experienced this and I can turn to them and I'm not just alone in that.
There's also an aspect of professional development that happens, right? And Claire, I might start with you and then we'll bounce over if you guys have anything to share on this one. But in what ways has having this community of the residency year helped you with your professional development?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting, like coming out of school, I think a lot of times people don't know what they want to do. And so you're kind of thrown into this year of like, well, I studied all this 4 years and I'm ready to like work in a field, but I don't exactly know what it looks like and I don't know how to get connected. And sometimes, at least in my experience, going about it the traditional way of like applying to jobs and like finding them on Indeed or LinkedIn or things like that doesn't always work, especially if you're trying to do like a niche thing. And so I think what's so neat about this program is that, like, and Rod, like, you and Johnny and the staff, like, because you guys have a growing church and a community of people that work in different fields and areas up here, you're able to connect us if we're wanting to and if we're willing with people that are in fields that we might be interested in. And it's so neat because it's organic. Like, it comes from a place of they just want to help us and connect us. And so I think that's been really cool for me, is to be connected with people that are in working fields of something that I'm interested in, and to be able to learn from them and grow from them, and also know that they're plugged into the local church. So you kind of see both sides of like they're plugged in locally in a church and serving and growing, and then they're also high executives in fields that we want to work in, and we get to learn from them in both ways, which has been really cool.
That's a really good point. And I do think from the old person perspective, like it brings us great joy to be able to connect young professionals of faith, right? Even more so, especially if you're serving, like in our church context. There's nothing that brings us greater joy than making that connection. And I think Claire hit it on the head. Most real good jobs where you end up plugging in, unfortunately, doesn't just have, it doesn't go the route of just applying randomly online. It really is who you know. And not only that, but who you know, and for you to know their character, right? That they're going to advise you well. Sabrina, I have a short little kind of like twist in the same question is, for your year, like maybe going into the year and then coming out of your time here, how did that discernment play out? How did maybe having some older folks in Christ help you discern next steps and where you find yourself now?
Yeah, well, I mentioned that my mentors and a lot of the people around me were in the field of work I was interested in, and thankfully it confirmed for me that that's what I wanted to do. And not only was I able to feel much more secure in that decision than to move into grad school where I am now, getting my master's, but to still have the support of those people, the relationships, to have connections now, to know how to do that wisely, how to do that well, and to just be relationally supported in that process as I go through.
That's comforting. Joe, for you, part of the program, or for all folks in the residency program, is kind of pouring through your gifts out in ministry, right? And a component of that is you serving as a volunteer leader, discipler, small group leader in middle school and high school. Joe, for you, what was that like to kind of make that connection and even maybe how did you use some of the things you learned in your undergraduate years?
Yeah.
And how has that played out working with middle school and high school students?
Yeah. I think everyone's a little different. Some people, you're a student ministry, like, yeah, I'll go do that. Some people are like,
Terrible.
middle school?
No way.
No way. I'm more the forefront where I love working with middle school and high school students, and that was part of my undergrad. I've just kind of done that since high school. I've worked with schools and worked with different youths. So for me, it was more of a natural transition, but it's always stretching and growing me, like to walk with students and just say, hey, like I'm just here to do life with you. I'm here to walk alongside you, point you to Jesus. That's a very humbling thing to be in that position in it. So it's really stretched me, but it's also affirmed some gifts and education and teaching and things that I love to do. And I think that, it is a really awesome way to grow, to watch other students grow. It's just, I think it's a joy and fun, and it's the best.
Awesome. And it is part of kind of like life in Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've received from those that took time out of their schedules to invest the gospel and to walk with us, and now as part of this, we also get to do that. Excellent, you guys. Thank you.
I was just going to add on to that. Kind of what you were saying is like we're set up with a mentor through the church, and with the hopes that there'd be like that trickle down effect. And I would say even like Joe mentioned that it was a natural transition for him to go from like teaching in college and stuff to teaching middle and high school. I would say quite opposite for me. It is not natural, and I definitely I was in ministry in college, but in a very different way. And so I think there are ways to plug in and to serve that might not look like teaching exactly, like Joe has been doing, but other behind the scenes things. There are needs in the local church and in the area that in the residency program you would be able to plug in and definitely be able to serve, and it's not necessarily going to look the same for each one, which is what is so neat about this program, is that you can really tailor it to what your gifts are and what you want to do and how you want to grow and how you want to learn to depend more on the Lord. So I think that was also, going back to the first question, what drew me into is that it could tailor it to sort of the things that I was interested in and maybe good at. And you, again, don't have the pressure of trying to figure it all out right away. You have the time to discern. You're in with a host family. You're plugged into a church. Like all of those things that feel like necessities are set up for you really well.
Good word.
Even Sabrina, you might even be able to speak to that just in worship and stuff too. Like that was part of your residency.
Yeah, absolutely. What I keep telling people when they ask what I was doing last year, it's like trying to explain it was such a unique time of being able to do everything that I loved in kind of different ways. I got to do music, leading worship, which I love to do, but had no intentions of necessarily doing as a career. But thought I can try that, do that, enjoy that, and even see if it is something I want to continue, while then also getting to work in areas that I wanted to work, take some seminary class, and then be supported in community, and then with the host family to just feel at home and rooted in the midst of that. It just allowed me to explore everything with the space, the set space. Like you said, it's all set up for you, and then now I can figure out how do I then take this forward.
It really sounds too good to be true.
Too good to be true. I like the word. I like to say home, because I think that's going back to the church. Like, in the scripture, Jesus calls the church his bride, but really, church is a family, and you're plugging into a family.
Yeah.
And so, and at least in my family, I want to do something. Like you can't just be in a family and just not exist with them. Like you gotta live life with them. Sometimes that means doing things you don't want to do. Sometimes that means just different ways of growing. But that's what I think is so special, is you plug it into a family when you're plugging into something like the residency. And that's just, I guess, the way I view it. But
and once you come into a family, it's like, like on the first minute after your residency is over, it's not like we evict you and you're out in the snow and that's it. It's like we've had the ability to see 7 years of folks come and plug in, and even if they leave, many of them will leave out of market, go. It's like blessing, but when they come back, they step right back into family, right? Or even if you stay, it's like, it's just really cool to see how that family kind of grows. Okay, one last question. Suppose you have a friend who has a fairly broad major, right? Like a business, communications, health sciences, something of that nature, and is about to graduate this May. How would you capture the scope or potential benefits of a postgraduate residency year with us?
Funny enough, I mean, I'm not to put it out there, but I actually called Claire doing just that. And because she was a friend, I was near her college, and I knew that she was maybe looking in this area. I was like, Claire, you got to come do the residency.
Yeah.
And I just encouraged her, like, hey, like I know you have the gifts with the people in ministry. Like, I know you worked in different jobs. I know you're not quite sure where you want to go. Like, this could give you the chance to explore all of those. And I think another thing I'd say is, like, these, like you said, it's kind of too good to be true. You kind of have to want this. Like, you got to value it. And you got to value, like, the local church, like we said, and community, and life, and working, and having some flexibility. I think if you can, my encouragement would be, especially when someone just graduates, like, you don't have to figure it all out when you're 22 and just graduate college. Like, Jesus didn't start his ministry until he was 30. Like, you can, you have time to figure it out, and this gives you a way to take risk when you have the time and when you're younger, and you can have that flexibility. And so why not take advantage of that? I don't know.
And I would even say very low risk, really high reward. Like, you're not even, like, because of the way that it's structured. So I worked for a year after graduation because I graduated in COVID, long story short. But then I was looking to relocate, and I didn't actually have the time to discern between when I graduated and when I started working. And so for me, when Joe said that you would have the space to do that, it was invaluable. And there was low risk. Like, I was moving up to a new area, and I was being put up with a host family where I didn't have to worry about financial responsibility right away, and I knew that I would be taken care of in the church family, and that I was also going to get to explore work opportunities, which is something that I didn't want to give up. I wanted to be able to work and figure out what that looked like. And so I think the really low risk by, like, not having the responsibility of a lot of things that you have responsibility for usually when you're on your own right away, and the high reward and having the time to discern what you want to do and how you want to spend your time.
Absolutely. Because I also think there's so much pressure coming right out of college to think I have to either go right to graduate school or right to the job that I want to do, and you really don't have to. And this really does provide a unique space where you're not just indefinitely throwing yourself into something, but you have a year or 2 years or whatever it is, where you know this is set and you have this space that is not just open space, but really intentional space where you are being formed in your work, in your faith, and then in everything around that in community.
I think it's kind of like a holistic mindset. Like, you have, even if you do know exactly what you want, like, student, like, you are putting all your life, hopefully your life around Christ is, like, all being revolved around being whole in your work, in your life, and in the church. And, like, each thing is meant to connect to the other. Like, the 3 components of this program, they're meant to be, like, interwebed. And I think that's what's so cool about it, is that you get advice for practical things, for life. You get advice for faith. You get advice for just
For work.
Yeah. And so you get, I think, touches on everything that you need. And so that would be my encouragement.
Well, thank you guys. I'm so thankful for each of you. Thank you for your time today. I do think it's like perfect timing, right? With so many of our undergraduates starting to kind of kick into high gear. Oh my goodness, May's around the corner. Fall is coming. What am I going to do? We'd be excited to talk to you. There's a web link right here on the screen we're going to add. And then we are accepting applications and totally open to have conversations. So if you're a senior getting ready to graduate and you're interested or at least have some questions, please reach out to us. We'll also have a page of references where you could actually even connect with any of the folks here, and there's additional names of folks that have been part of the residency program that would love to fill you in. Is this church crazy? What's it like living here? That kind of stuff.
Like detailed questions that today you can ask.
That we probably didn't share today. So please check out the website for the details. Reach out to us. And potentially even available to do some face-to-face kind of interview conversations. Hopefully setting us up to accept our new class of residents this September 1st. Cool? Thank you guys, and hope you guys have a great day. See ya.
You got it.